the bravery of its heroes.
Cheers to everyone that subscribed this week, 311,000, a most glorious number. My name's Mark Walker and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now I'm quite happy to be a Minecraft nerd. It's a game that I've enjoyed for a very long time, so I was excited to see what Minecraft Legends was all about. But on the Switch, I was a little apprehensive as to how it would run, what the frame rate would be like, and obviously how it ran in docked as well as handheld modes, and the overall visual quality. And hopefully this video will be exactly what you need to decide whether or not it's worth picking up on Switch. At the end of it, I'll talk about the gameplay. Having played around 5 or so hours, I feel like I've got a reasonable grip on it, but not quite enough to attach a score just yet. So Minecraft Legends on Switch, how does it perform? Well, let's find out.
What will we remember?
Okay, so let's start with the options that you're given in game. Right off the bat, you can choose the text size from 3 different options, which I absolutely love to see, and it shows they care about the Nintendo Switch audience. This means that all texts in all areas of the game will be increased depending on the size you choose. There are a few other options in here, including a colorblind mode and a text-to-speech for the visually impaired. Other than that, you can remap all the buttons. It's what I would class as quite a good effort, really, giving good initial impressions. So then we jump into the game. It uses several cutscenes that are pre-rendered video, but I did notice a little bit of stutter, an unusual frame drop on these. It wasn't in all areas, but it was quite noticeable, particularly as it happened straight away. When we jump into the game, well, it's using the Bedrock engine from the mainline Minecraft series, which has seen a number of improvements after its initial takeover from Legacy, which I think it's fair to say was a bit of a bumpy ride, filled with bugs and issues. As far as frame rates go, we're looking at 30 plus frames per second. It runs at an uncapped frame rate between 30 and 60, hovering generally around 40 to 50 frames per second, and it goes below 30. I did investigate to see if there was an option to lock this out at 30, because certain areas will see it go all the way from 55 down to around 40 or 35, which can feel far more jittery than a stable locked out frame rate. It's not to say it's bad, it's actually more impressive than I thought it would be. When it's running well, it's actually quite pleasant. Where the Switch version is struggling is in its memory management. As I move forward through into different biomes, although the view distance is quite solid, with a distant fade transition rather than a pop-in, but it's having to stream and load quite a few assets as you move, and when you have this large gaggle of followers, I'm sure you can see it on screen, you'll get the occasional hitches and stutters. Again, not massive issues for most people, but these can get worse the longer you play, which leads me to suspect there are some memory leaks here, which is almost confirmed by the fact that after I'd played for those 5 hours, things started to really chug and then the game crashed. Visual quality is really quite nice. There are real-time reflections, real-time dynamic shadows which change depending on the time of the day, and they're of a reasonably high quality. I mentioned the large number of minions on the screen. These are your golems, and while they don't have a huge number of animations for obvious reasons, and you do have an upper limit of 20, there will be far more on screen than that as you progress into it, as you face off against the piglin hordes, and it does an admirable enough job of staying together during those moments. As you'd expect from the Bedrock engine, there's elements of real-time building, as well as real-time destruction, and as we'll see at the end when I talk about gameplay, it's handled slightly differently, but performance remains consistent during construction or destruction. The image quality across the board is very impressive as mentioned, with a variety of different lighting conditions, although I feel like that camera could do with being zoomed in a touch. I'll have to check out if that's available in the options and pop something up on the screen now. The Switch version does support full cross-platform play, so if you're someone that wants to team up with friends on other platforms, that's something you can do as long as you log into your account. For everyone else, you can skip that and join your friends with easy drop-in, drop-out multiplayer. You can also lock down your world so that others only friends can join or no one at all. Now in handheld mode, things remain quite consistent. The image quality is strong, it seems near native resolution in both modes, and again performance is uncapped. I know people lament the Switch's lack of power, but that OLED screen really does justice to this style of experience. Everything just pops off of the screen, and it's certainly my preferred way to play this style of game. The audio is exceptionally good. Minecraft has a tendency to produce some beautiful melodic tunes. Both the sound quality and the soundtrack are top-notch.
All sorts of new structures.
The piglins are planning something.
And Minecraft Legends features full voice acting, not for the main character, who's a voiceless protagonist, but for the side cast. And although I can't put my finger on, I can definitely place those voices. You'll have to help me out.
But don't worry, you won't be alone.
Behold, I always wanted to say that. We present.
Lastly, on performance, we have load times. While the initial load takes a little while, it's not too bad at all. When you're in game, it's generally just streaming assets in as you progress and move around the map. There is a fast travel system as well, and I didn't feel like I was waiting too long for loading in any of the areas. To summarize then, we've got text size, lots of different options for tweaking your controls, a little bit of an issue with video stutter. There seem to be a few memory bugs here causing some jitter. The frame rate though is quite solid at around 40 to 50 FPS most of the time. And as far as any other bugs, well, I have had one in the menu. The menu, when you press on the D-pad in different directions, you should be able to see the things you can construct or the elements related to the direction you've pushed. But mine got stuck and I could only see the wood and stone gathering options. I had to reset out of the game, come back in for that to reappear. The base version of Legends is going to set you back around £33.49 or your regional equivalent. Offline it is single player only, but online it's 1 to 4 players as mentioned. It comes in a 6.5GB download and it will take you around 12 hours to complete that main story. And here's my summary of gameplay. I really wasn't sure what to expect here, but it's almost like a mixture of an old school adventure, Minecraft, and Pikmin. There are quest lines to follow, reasonably simplistic, such as saving towns, but you'll be using those building mechanics, so you might place down towers to protect it from the piglin attacks, and then at other times you'll have to go and defeat a piglin base, stretching a staircase up so that your troops, as I'll call them, essentially the small golems that you can summon, and yourself can then go and attack. It feels really nice to play, I was surprised. The combat that you can do, well, you can perform an attack with the A button, but it's all about directing your troops to do the work for you. Different ones require different resources to build, and they're also effective against certain structures and enemies. The stone golems are obviously good at destroying buildings, and you might have others join you, so although there's that 20 cap, sometimes certain missions will have a huge army join you, and you can actually control those as well, which is a nice touch. You can place any of the constructible items that you have wherever you want, so you can build those spawn points for your golems just outside of an enemy base. You can create an area that you can respawn from, and it will involve you holding a trigger and then moving around with the analog stick, which works quite well. You can also rotate those items. You're able to bring up your map at any point, and you can set waypoints, fast travel back to base, and most of the missions are narrated, including cutscenes, boss enemies, larger piglins, which will require quite careful use of your troops. And I've got to say, I'm really enjoying it. It's a very fresh take on the Minecraft formula, and I'm a big fan of real-time strategy games. It feels like a good amalgamation of the two ideas. It's very easy to pick up and play. I should imagine it'll be even more fun with a huge group of you, all with your minions online, and although it's linear in the sense of having that storyline, it manages to feel open and free enough. I think the only critique will be its longevity, around 12 hours to complete it. For me, that's when something like Dragon Quest Builders got going. Now, having said that, in the main menu, aside from this story and the multiplayer mode, they are going to release monthly story updates. So they've obviously factored that into the game's design with a plan to constantly roll out new stories and quests that you and your friends would go on, hopefully utilizing all of the upgrades that you've bought along the way. Now, you can also choose the character type that you have, and there is a marketplace option there, so expect a ton of that cosmetic DLC that people lap up. Still, I am reasonably impressed with the Switch version. I thought it was going to be a hot mess, but it's not. It's a lukewarm treat. If you do have any questions, if I've forgotten anything, which I'm sure I have because it's pretty late, then leave a comment down below and I'll do my very best to answer you. As always, a big thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. Hopefully it's of some use. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!